I know, I'm a little bit late, but that just means that this is the most up-to-date review. Hey, welcome back. If you're new here, I'm Justin, and on this channel, I do VR game development and also game and tech reviews, like this one. So if you're interested in developing VR games, or if you just want to get a developer's perspective on VR games and tech, consider subscribing. So, is the Oculus Quest 2 worth buying? Absolutely. That's it. That's the whole video. I've got a lot for you in this video. I ended up filming my first impressions and unboxing of the Quest 2, and then I'm going to show you how to set up your Quest 2 for the first time, and then I'm going to show you how to download games, add friends, do all these little tricks and tips and subtle things that are going to help you improve the Quest 2's performance and make it just a better gaming experience. So glad you're here, and let's jump into it. Guess what? It's finally here. I just got the email that says my Oculus Quest 2 is... I've got the Oculus Quest 2 right here, and then I've got a 20-foot USB-C to USB 2.0 cable here. I didn't get the Oculus version, I just got the, a cheap $20 one on Amazon instead of buying the $50, I think it's $80 for Oculus's version in there. I'll put a link down to this in the description. So let's see, we've got the Oculus Quest 2, it's got a little sleeve. Inside the box, we've got two Oculus Quest 2 touch controllers, and they're a little bit bigger than the Oculus Rift controllers. You've got this little touchpad over here as well. We've got the headset, of course, which is smaller, feels lighter than the Rift S. I'm gonna be comparing everything to the Rift S because that's the only other VR headset that I use. All right, I'll come back to that in a minute. We've got a little spacer if you have glasses, and allows you to be wearing glasses while you're doing the Oculus. And then we've got a little box here, which I assume is cables. Very nice. And this is everything that comes in the box. We've got two touch controllers. We've got the head-mounted display. We have a glasses spacer. We have a USB-C to USB-C cable with a wall adapter, and then the instruction manual. Button on the side that turns it on, and then you have the volume button underneath here. Those are nice. And the lenses can be moved back and forth, and you have a little number right here. Not sure if you guys can see that. There's a little number, and then when you move the lenses, you just kind of can push them. Try to use both fingers, push both at the same time. So you've got 1, 2, and 3 for your spacing of your eyes. It's adjustable. These off. I won't be needing that. I got LASIK. It's amazing. All right, here we go. Let's try it out. Power button. There it is. Couldn't find it. So it looks like the second spot for the IPD is the best for me. Otherwise it felt like I was going cross-eyed a little bit, or it was like way too wide. Loosen that up. So you loosen the straps by just pushing these together or pulling these two bars apart. And then you can loosen the top strap here by just unvelcroing it and adjusting it that way. Before we jump into specs and whatnot, I just want to say that the reason I ended up getting this in the first place was because of the Patreon page, and you guys helping me hit $100 a month really helps me, buy some VR equipment and help make these kinds of tutorials. So I just want to say thank you so much. Running up on $250 a month, and once we get to that point, I'm gonna make a asset for the Unity asset store that will help you, quick start your VR development and games and whatnot. So that's close approaching, a lot faster than I anticipated. Anyway, so the headset comes with 4 cameras here on the front. You'll see 1, 2, 3, and 4. This allows you to have 6 degrees of freedom, so you can look around, you have all the rotations, but then you can also move positionally inside of your space, and the cameras can track the walls and the ceiling to take in where you are in the world and translate that into the game. So that's 6 degrees of freedom as opposed to your phone, which can do 3 degrees of freedom. So it has all the rotations, but it doesn't have the position tracking. So more cameras really helps with that. The battery life on this is not not the best. It only goes up to about 2 or 3 hours of continual use. So small package, you get a small battery life. But there are some workarounds. There's the Oculus Quest Elite strap, which has a battery on the back. This is not it, but this is where it would go. That cost about, I think, $130 US. The links for all of the stuff I talk about will be in the description if you're interested in picking up a Quest, or if you're interested in, getting any of the accessories or things that I mentioned here. So you can run it for about 2 or 3 hours, and then it takes another 2 or 3 hours to charge back up. Or you can attach a battery pack to it and, extend that life a little bit. It comes with a built-in speaker here on the bottom. You can see this little, this little dot by the volume switch is the microphone. And then the speakers are actually kind of inside of the headband, which is really clever. So you get one over here, and then the same on the other side. It's this little guy right here. And they're actually pretty good. I think it's just because they're so close, because when you put the headset on, they end up being super close to your ear. And so, I don't know, it makes you feel like you're in the world. Let's talk about the controller. So this white controller is the new Oculus Quest 2 controller, and this black controller is the old Oculus Rift controller. So you'll notice that there's a little space over here on the side that they added, kind of like a thumb rest. There wasn't actually anywhere to set your thumb while you were like playing with a controller but didn't want to press any of the buttons. So now there's a handy little spot where you can just rest your thumb, and it works out pretty well. And then other than that, you have your normal joystick, the A and B buttons, or the X and Y buttons on the other one. And then you have the Oculus button right here, and then the menu button on the other one. Each one comes with a AA battery. To remove this little case here, you slide it down where this little down arrow is. These are a lot harder to get off. So you take this and you slide it down, and that will reveal the battery. And it's a AA battery, and so I would recommend getting a pair of rechargeable batteries that you can just plug into the wall, or 4 rechargeable batteries, and then you can just swap them out whenever you need a new battery, and then you don't have to waste tons and tons of batteries. These, I don't think I've replaced these batteries yet, and I've had the Quest for maybe a week or 2 now, so these run for a good little while. The Rift controllers, they're just magnetic, so this slide comes off a whole lot easier. So they fixed that on the Quest 2, but also these batteries in the Rift S run down a lot faster. So I think the battery management is much better on the Quest 2 controllers. If you're not interested in using controllers, probably one of the best features of the Quest 2 is you don't need controllers. You can just use your hands, and you can manipulate objects. There's full games made around just using the Quest 2 and the hand tracking. So I would definitely check that out, because that's a really cool feature and it's really fun to play around with. So you can also use this standalone. You don't need a powerful PC in order to plug this in. But if you happen to have one, because you're a VR enthusiast and you have the Valve Index or something like that, get yourself a long USB-C cable, and you can plug that into the USB-C port here on the side. And now it acts exactly like the Rift. You don't really need the Rift anymore. This has replaced it, and I completely understand why they're discontinuing the Rift, because this is it. It's just also standalone. So when you plug this in, there is an option inside of the menu that allows you to swap it over to use Oculus Link. I have had some questions over on the Discord about whether or not you can use the cable that it comes with. So it comes with a USB-C to USB-C cable in the box, and it's very short. It's like 3 feet. So I would not recommend using that to plug into your computer and do PSVR stuff with. But you also don't need the Oculus Link cable that costs like $80. You can just buy a $20 one. So this one was like $20. One end is USB-C, the other end is a USB 3.0, and it works perfectly fine and was a whole lot cheaper. This one I got is 20 feet. The Oculus Link cable is 16, so I'd recommend something in that area. 16, 20 feet, depends on how big your room is. So if you want to be able to walk across the room, probably get something that's more 30 feet. And soon, with the Quest version 28 that they're about to put out, you don't even need a wire. It's going to be a wireless Air Link. As long as you've got good Wi-Fi in your house, this will work wirelessly with your PC and be able to stream that. So some really cool stuff coming. One more thing to note, this is the 256 gigabyte version, and there is also a 64 gigabyte version. They look exactly the same, but this one holds 5 times more than the 64 gigabyte version, which isn't actually as huge of an issue as you would think, because a lot of VR games are only only a gig or two in size. So you're gonna be able to pack a lot of games into a 64 gigabyte version of the headset. Unless you're like a super huge VR enthusiast and want to have all the games installed on your device at once, then I would honestly recommend saving the $100 and getting the 64 gigabyte version, because you can always play a game and then uninstall it and download another one. So I have a link to this down in the description. It's an affiliate link, so it helps me out if you purchase through that link, and I would really appreciate it if you're interested in getting one. But let's talk about setup, how to set it up, and then let's add some games to it. So first thing we're gonna have to do is look for the Oculus app, and I'm gonna install that. Once that gets installed, open it up. It's gonna ask you if you wanna use Bluetooth, say yes, and then you have to have a Facebook account in order to get in. So you're gonna need to continue with Facebook, log into your Facebook account, and then say continue as yourself, and then it'll send you back to the app. And then from here, you can set up your VR profile, add a picture, select your username, and then the next page will let you add friends. So these are all your Facebook friends who have Oculus profiles. And so you can go through and add each one of these, or you can skip it if you like. And then there's a privacy screen. So this will let you say who can view your activity in Oculus and who is going to be able to see your Facebook name on Oculus. And then it'll ask you to choose some interests so it can recommend some content more specific to your taste. It's going to ask you to pair your Quest 2. You're going to say yes. It's going to search for that. As long as you've enabled Bluetooth and Wi-Fi, it should not have an issue. If you do run into an issue, there's going to be a code that you can type in. It's going to ask you if you would like notifications and all that stuff. In order to turn the headset on, you need to press and hold the power button for 3 to 5 seconds. Wait for that to turn on. Pull the tab. So I'm just going through the setup process right now. It looks very clear. I'm used to the Rift, which is a few years old now. All right, I have to add my Wi-Fi network, which password I don't know off the top of my head. So we'll see how this goes. Gotta look up the password. I can just barely see through this little nose slot down here. It's gonna have you watch a safety video, and it's gonna talk about, clearing your space out, making sure you have plenty of room to move around with your arms and legs. You're gonna need to stay indoors because direct sunlight will actually burn the lenses of the headset. So you wanna stay indoors for all this kind of stuff. Any kind of direct sunlight is not good. It's gonna have you set up a Guardian, gonna set the floor. Everything is showing black because the pass-through doesn't actually show through when you're recording footage in the Oculus Quest for privacy reasons, I'm sure. But basically what I'm doing is drawing a circle and then setting that boundary. When you first come into the scene, you'll notice that you are in a pretty beautiful space. Oculus has designed some very nice homes for you to live in while you're inside of their environment. This is a desert kind of scene. So you'll notice it says down here at the bottom, I get a little tooltip that says if I press the Oculus button, which is the menu button on your right-hand controller, this little menu in front of me in the lower section will pop up. Press this first little button, it'll take me to the store where I can browse new games. The next button is apps, and these are all the apps I currently have. So I can open or install any of the apps that I currently own from this page, and I can also sort the apps by type from the top here. The next button is people. This lets you see all your Oculus friends and who is available to chat and call. You can also add friends from this. The next button is notifications, and this is, pretty obvious. All your notifications, and it sorts it by type. This next button is the sharing button, so it lets you record like I'm currently doing, and also take photo, go live, or cast. And then all of the photos and videos that you take will be right here in this section. And this next button is settings. From this first quick actions menu, you can reset your Guardian, change the Wi-Fi, increase or decrease the brightness or volume, do a night display, reset your view, do not disturb, mute your microphone, turn on voice commands, or report a problem. And then we'll just go down this real quick. Device lets you activate hand tracking, so you'll go to this option here and enable that if you would like to use only your hands and not the controllers. The Guardian specific tab lets you adjust the Guardian, but also do more things like, set the boundary color or make it more specific. Storage isn't a huge issue. As you can see, I've got the 264 gigabyte version, and there is plenty of room left for the rest of my games. You'll see each game here is pretty small. Each one of the virtual reality games is usually only a couple gigs. So you'll see Pavlov Shack is less than 4 gigs.
Epic Roller Coasters is less than 2, Rec Room's less than 2, Big Screen Beta is less than 1, and then Echo VR and the rest of them are all less than 1 gigabyte. So, and if you want to uninstall a game, you just check that box and click on uninstall and then confirm, and the app will be uninstalled. Notifications lets you manipulate when you want to do not be disturbed or other kind of activity. Applications is kind of like that thing in your iPhone where you can set all the permissions for your applications and stuff. Virtual environment is where you select what environment you would like to be your home. You can download these for free. The one in the bottom right corner is the pass-through mode. So this will give you a black and white picture of what your cameras on the Oculus actually see. I can't record that, so we're just gonna switch to a space station, because if I try to record it, it'll come up in black like you saw earlier. This is actually a really cool space. I love the space station. And you'll notice this tooltip over here. If you press and hold the Oculus button, it'll reset your view. So all those little menus and stuff will pop up over there. Let's jump into experimental features and talk about some cool stuff. So over here in stationary boundary pass-through, this will automatically transition you out of your game and into pass-through mode if you get too close to a boundary. And I find that really helpful. And there's also other settings in here like bringing your couch into VR, saying hey Facebook, and having that be like hey Siri or hey Google. From here you can also add Bluetooth mouse and keyboards and some other things. If you are a developer, you'll have this developer tab, and you can apply for that on Oculus's website, and that'll let you disable Guardian. And the About tab will let you do software updates if they're available and check what version you're on. In order to close this menu, all you have to do is press the Oculus button again. So a couple games I really recommend if you're a first-time VR user. The first one is First Steps. This one is for Oculus Quest 2 and is a very good game. It lets you dance with a robot, kind of walks you through the fundamentals of what button controls and how it works, that kind of thing. And then it will also branch you off into other games like First Contact or a few different genres, like it'll branch you off into a shooter or this other game where you get to talk to like a Wall-E robot kind of thing. And feel free to explore the store and find what games you like. And Physics Lab is a really cool game that I highly recommend if you have the Quest 2 and want to play around with the hand tracking features, because that is a really neat game where you can do finger painting and different kinds of hand physics. One thing I didn't show is if you go to settings and you have your Oculus plugged in, you'll see this Oculus Link option. So you can click on that and it will automatically convert you over to the Rift version or the PC VR version of Oculus, and you'll see your menu and your home will pop up and you'll be able to access your computer display and all that kind of stuff and play PC VR games from this menu. This is your normal, if you've had a Rift before, this is what everything looked like, just like that. And if you want to disable Oculus Link, you just press that button and click the quit button. Some other games I highly recommend you check out are Elixir. If you also want to do some hand tracking, it's also a free game. And you can play Boneworks and Half-Life Alyx from your PC VR Oculus Link. So if you have a good computer and want to get into some hardcore PC games, then I highly recommend Half-Life Alyx and Boneworks, because those have been probably the best VR experiences I've ever had. If you've bought any of these games in the past for the Rift or Quest 1 or for Steam VR, you can play all of those through PC VR. Steam VR works just fine in PC VR, so that's what I will normally play my games in. In all seriousness, I think this is an incredible headset and the best headset on the market for your money right now. It's a small, compact size. It can be a PC VR headset, and it's also standalone, so it really has everything going for it. It's the Rift and the Quest 1 combined into one with hand tracking and 120 Hz once this next update rolls out. So I absolutely think that the Oculus Quest 2 is a great package, as long as you're cool with the whole having a Facebook account thing. Facebook's goal is to get 1 billion people into VR, and 1/5 of their entire employee base, 1/5 of the employees, are working on some kind of virtual reality development, virtual reality hardware, things like the Oculus Quest. So 1/5 of Facebook's employees. and they have like 60,000 employees. If that tells you anything about how huge this market is and how amazing it's going to be in the future, then I don't know what to tell you. So if you're interested in buying the Oculus Quest 2, I have a link to it down in the description. That'll take you to Amazon, and I'll get a little bit of a kickback. It doesn't cost you anything more, but it helps me out and helps the channel out a bunch. So I really appreciate it if you end up buying one through my link. And if you're interested in more VR content from a developer's perspective, then subscribe. The video I'm putting out next week is going to be about procedural grip and how to grab an object and make the hand mesh to the object's size. So that'll be a pretty cool tutorial. And then also I was on another podcast. So on Thursday, tomorrow, I'll be putting out another podcast on the channel too. So if you're into that kind of thing, that'll be an option. So appreciate you joining me, and I'll see you next week.